So a few weeks ago, I had a listing appointment with a seller, and I could tell right off the bat the seller had been interviewing a bunch of other realtors. The seller and I spoke a few times before our meeting, and he sent me a list of questions. And I felt like must have had a bad experience with the previous realtor. And then I realized that these are questions that every single seller should be asking their realtor when they're interviewing. So Ben and I came up with some really important questions that we feel are important when you're interviewing your agent. So Ben, how do you feel about like a full-time agent versus maybe a part-time agent?
Well, there are a smaller number of part-time agents that are very professional. But for the most part, in the last 10 years, the team structure has taken over the real estate industry. It's so hard for an individual part-time agent to deal with contracts and handyman and services and title companies and transaction coordinators. So the team structure is really been a win-win, especially for our team. I think that's a much better option than a single standalone agent, especially if they're part-time. All right, TJ, another question would be, I think sellers should ask everyone, do you have a team or supporting staff?
That's a great question. I think you have to make sure that you have people doing all kinds of different things. So for example, we have a marketing coordinator, we have a transaction coordinator, we have a handyman. Everybody has their job and it makes everyone work way more efficient. So I think it's really important to have a supporting team, kind of like the wizard behind the green curtain, right? Like
Yes.
there's somebody doing something.
Am I the wizard or are you the wizard?
I am.
Okay, great.
Thanks. I think another important question is the agent that you are going to hire, do they show up with listing paperwork, a price, and a camera ready to go?
Right.
What would you say?
Well, I think in some communities around the valley you can do that, where it's more consistent. In Encantera, we're so inconsistent on values and options and features that we never show up with a price, ever. It's been 10 years since you and I have shown up at a listing with a price, because we need to physically see the home, because to the seller's mind, some of their options and features may be worth more or less than what they think. So I think showing up on a pricing structure, there's a million factors here, and I think we do an amazing job of putting those all in the right place. So TJ, another thing that I think is critical that a seller can ask a realtor, what does your past business look like? How do you address that?
Well, we have great examples of all of our previous listings. I would always show them how a room should be staged. I show them examples. This is how your closet should look. This is how your garage should look. And so we have a great portfolio of all of our previous listings of how they should look.
Right. And of course, they're all pressure washed, clean, windows are spotless, professional staging, professional photos. So
Yeah.
I think that's key when interviewing agents. One of the biggest factors is communication. In a typical 30-day transaction, there'll be 100 emails, texts, phone calls back and forth, right?
Yeah.
So how do you handle that as far as you run 100% of your business as far as the transactions go?
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
Well, so I do like being able to have some boundaries where, when I get home at night, I will unfocus on work.
Right.
But when you work with us, you get, I'm going to ask you, how do you like to communicate? Do you prefer email, text, phone call? And we are prompt. We're not going to let a text message go, if you text me at midnight, I'm probably going to be sleeping.
Or it'll
and
be
then
12:02 before you get back with them.
True.
The next day.
The next day. No, not the next day. The next morning.
Right.
So, but you also get both of us, because if I'm on vacation and you're in the office,
Yes.
you're able to pick up. So
And we have our transaction manager, Janet, who also jumps in to answer questions.
yeah. So those are all things that if you're listing your home, you need to consider those questions.
I agree. Thank you for listening to TJ and I today. Hopefully we've given you some great guidance on how to select the perfect agent to sell your property.